Work doesn't suck, your job just sucks, and I'm gonna prove it. Let's say you work at Amazon. I don't know, packing and unpacking boxes and hauling boxes and generally hating your life. Job to work at Amazon, I'm sure. But all of us have helped our friends move, and we generally enjoy it. So, really, both of these are packing boxes, hauling boxes, and so on. Why do we hate this one and generally like this one? Well, first of all, Amazon pays you money. Your friend isn't gonna pay you, except maybe in pizza and beer, so the laws of economics dictate that you tell your friend to kick rocks and just hire movers like an adult so that you can spend more time at the Amazon warehouse. But your friend can't make you piss in a bottle to pack boxes faster. Your friend is not your boss. If they tell you, pack boxes faster, you tell them, I'm not if I kick your ass first. Your friend can't decide, oh, you're not moving boxes fast enough, so you're not getting pizza and beer. Your friend is nice to you. Your friend says thank you. You get to laugh with your friend and crack jokes. You get to take breaks when you need to, knowing at the end of the work the job will get done. And when you are done helping your friend move, you get the satisfaction of seeing their new place with all the stuff that you helped move. You get the honor and divine reward of eating pizza on an IKEA couch that you put together mostly right. Now, at Amazon, your boss can be an asshole to you and demand you work faster or else you're fired. And then if you tell him you're gonna kick his ass, then how are you gonna buy your after-work pizza? Your boss probably does not have to respect you. At Amazon, you're probably not getting that many breaks, or maybe one federally mandated break that they still want you to answer emails during. And at Amazon, you never get to see the fruits of your labor. You never see the people whose packages you're hauling and packing open their boxes and smile when they see their new erotic Ted Lasso body pillow or whatever. In fact, the work is never done. And I don't know about you, but I don't have a friend in the world that I would help move for 40 hours a week. I don't think humans should do anything for 40 hours a week, but that's for later. You never have the satisfaction of a job done because the job is never done. Now, there's plenty more differences between these two that you could call out, but I think this gives us a good starting point. We have our current work to live, live to work system starting to break down. People are getting laid off. People can't find work. People who do work still can't afford to live. People are selling their bodies to AI like some kind of shitty knockoff Asimov story. It's time to ask ourselves, how can we make work more like helping your friend move and less like pissing in bottles for Jeffrey Bezos? There are things we can do right now to at least partially free ourselves from this work culture. And as I wrote this script, I actually tried a bunch of things to participate less in the Bezos economy and more in the helping your friends move economy, and I'll tell you how to do that too and how it went. But before we figure out what we are going to do about it, we kind of have to diagnose the problem, because right now we're basically fish who don't know we're in water, except the water is work culture. Oh no, it's not a perfect metaphor. So when you boil it down, you could probably list a bajillion other differences, but the fundamental difference between this and this is that when you are helping your friend move, you are free. And when you're at work, you are not free. It is 8 o'clock in the morning. When you come out, it will be dark. The sun will not shine for you today.
I'm grateful as fuck to have a job to go to every day, but fuck. Shit. God damn.
Consider the phrases work-life balance and free time. Kind of fucked up if you think about it. You're only free when you're not at work. And even that's dubious because we spend so much of our free time recovering from work, preparing for work, commuting, watching shitty Marvel movies so we have something to talk to our coworkers about. What about work-life balance? Your work is not your life. When you're at work, you're not really alive, or your life is not your own, or you are not free and the sun will not shine for you today, something like that. Hey, what's the coolest way your job has dehumanized you? Let me know in the comments.
Please, God, let me get this job. Please, with all your might. Please, God, let the building burn down.
And that's probably why you, just like everybody else, either hate your job or kind of tolerate it, no matter what the job is. Even if it's your dream job, hell, especially if it's your dream job.
I love my work. I am in my element, doing what I love.
Jobs suck, all jobs suck. And yet to huge numbers of unemployed Gen Zs, I probably sound like I'm bitching about having won the lottery and yet having to pay taxes on it. Which actually you don't have to do in Canada. This video was sponsored by Canadian Powerball. You should gamble. Because even someone with a master's degree can't land a toilet scrubbing type job, which is probably causing the crumbling of our society, or at least it's one of like 10 William different things. But, we'll worry about the rest later. We'll worry about the other reasons. We'll fix them all. Like and subscribe. There's much discussed about this. How many jobs are genuinely being automated away, and how many of them are just shareholder value excuses to lay off a bunch of people and then make their other coworkers do two people's jobs? Well, let's just say that at least a good amount of the jobs are genuinely being replaced by AI. And pretty much everybody sees this as a bad thing, but unfortunately it makes tech companies money and therefore it's inevitable. And I think the fact that we consider this to be bad is a kind of spiritual sickness. Not all of these jobs, but definitely a lot of them, are probably what you've heard being called bullshit jobs. And if you haven't heard, a bullshit job, coined by David Graeber, is essentially a job that even the worker can identify as being meaningless, but you have to pretend it's very, very important in your daily stand-up meetings.
That is what the money is for in these corporate office jobs. I used to think they paid you because you were talented or smart. No, they pay you the money to pretend. To pretend that you care.
The kind of meaningless white-collar jobs that are mostly emails and meetings, and yet somehow they're so stressful. David Graeber sees this as not just like a huge waste of everybody's fucking one life on Earth, but as mass psychological violence, which sounds dramatic until you think about it. That's most of your life, pretending like what you're doing matters and it doesn't. Now, I know a lot of you are yelling at your screen, alienation. It's alienation. That's what it is. And it is. That's alienation. And if you haven't heard of that before, I'm going to hold your hand while we do. It's okay. Don't be scared, okay? Alienation is a term coined by, okay, you ready? Karl Marx, to describe exactly this. The laid-off copywriters replaced with ChatGPT didn't dream of writing product descriptions for some website that nobody will ever look at. The laid-off cashiers don't yearn for the till. The assistants who are replaced with chatbots aren't sick with grief about no longer getting to read their boss's pointless emails. And junior developers who can't get a job right now, they probably didn't learn to code so that they could one day write unit tests and reply to support tickets from people who've apparently never used a computer before in their lives. And yet, we are constantly saying, left, right, center, basically everywhere but the Rogan-verse, hey, this is very, very bad because people need jobs to live. And they are correct. People do need jobs to live, therefore this is bad. But what if the jobs being automated away isn't the universal bad, but rather the fact that we need jobs to live in the first place? And then, of course, you have the people who weren't replaced with AI, who now just have to use AI every day for their job. The amount of people who've told me that their productivity is now measured by how many AI tokens they've used. Are you okay? The people whose jobs revolve around AI don't generally feel like they're doing any less work. In fact, they often feel like they're taking on more work. Like, I've heard people say that their bosses are expecting them to 2x, 3x their output, and I'm like, are they 2xing your salary? But it doesn't sound like AI is making these guys' lives much easier either. So who is it helping? Well, we know who it's helping. It's, billionaires, but let's move on. In Praise of Idleness by Bertrand Russell, he foresees exactly this kind of problem. Imagine workers at pin factories. They currently produce all the pins the world needs, working 8 hours a day, but there's a new invention that allows them to make double the pins with the same amount of time. The problem is that pins are so cheap that even if their price gets cut in half, there's not going to be that much more demand for pins. So he says that in any sensible world, the workers would be given the same salary at 4 hours a day. But obviously, why would you do that when you could just take it as profit instead? So now either the pin makers continue to work 8 hours a day and create huge surpluses of pins, and then half the pin factories go under, or half the workers get laid off. Either way, this machine, while making pins slightly cheaper, has mostly increased misery in the pindustry, if you will. And I will. There are other systems where these inventions can be a good thing for the workers, but a lot of the time, this is what happens. And now, yes, I know that there are more problems with AI than just the jobs problem, but we'll put those aside for now. I have a whole video talking about AI hype, so I believe that the AI hype bubble and tech oligarch-fueled speculation about the end of white-collar work can allow us to look at these jobs being done and say, hey, do we really need to be doing these? Do we really need AIs to be reading emails and then sending emails to AIs? And yet we still say, I've tried being unemployed, I've tried being employed, and what I recommend is never having been born. In late capitalism, there's really only 4 options for you. You could be an unemployed NEET, you could work a bullshit job waiting to have your job automated away, you can work a just shit job actually doing productive work like being a nurse or building houses, but not for enough money and in terrible working conditions. Not bad. Or you can make 6 figures as your own boss, working from anywhere in the world just by taking my dropshipping course. Okay. Just those 4 is a little overly reductive. You could also be a Polymarket insider trader. Or maybe you have a job which you actually enjoy, and if you do, leave it in the comments along with your home address so all the people who commented earlier can come and kick your ass. The work itself doesn't usually make us miserable. I think it's the culture around it that makes us miserable. Derek Thompson, yes, the abundance guy, calls this workism. Not wokeism. Calm down, woke moralists. Workism. Workism in itself is a religion that maybe is rooted in the Protestant work ethic, but now it's its whole other thing. It replaces the gap that religion left in our souls with the idea that if you work hard, work will save your soul, and you'll only reach spiritual transcendence when you finally find your calling and work hard at it as a global head of digital transformation at McKinsey. And if you're poor, well, you probably can't afford to chase your dream, but at least you can be redeemed of your sins by being hardworking. Also, the sin of being an immigrant, the only way to absolve yourself of that one is by being a hard-working immigrant. Sorry, guys. And hard-working. You'll notice politicians say that a lot.
Hard-working Americans.
Hard-working Brits.
Hard-working Canadians.
Millions of hard-working Americans across the nation who have always been the heart and soul of this really great movement.
And because people have the sense that hard work can make you richer, and hard work, I mean, not Gen Z. Gen Z is not falling for this.
Tired of corporate slaving? You might be built for a fake email job. People are getting paid 6 figures to work 2 hours a day, answering a couple emails and sitting on calls from home, nap midday, and go grocery shopping.
But like, people in general have the idea that if you work hard, you get rich, and hard work is unambiguously morally a good thing. You are a good person if you're a hard worker. And that means that rich people are unambiguously good. And that's why we shouldn't redistribute wealth, because I couldn't possibly bring myself to take all that money that Elon Musk, famously the goodest man to ever live, made through his hard work. This, too, is workism. I would also like to, if I may, talk about this Coinbase ad, because I find it very relevant.
Here we go again.
A guy is caught up in the corporate drone NPC world, and then he finally breaks free, thanks to Coinbase. And it does not take a master's degree in media literacy to figure this one out. The people who work for a living are suckers. They're NPCs. And you, the only real person in the world, are stuck in their broken, unfair system and can't get out no matter how hard you work. That's why you should gamble your life savings away on meme coins. It's your only way out. And this ad, I think, says a lot about society, because people are miserable because of workism. It's why every hustle culture grifter tells you just buy my course and you'll never have to work your shitty 9-to-5 again. You'll own your own business. Your time will be yours. You'll be free. That's why the 4-hour work week sold 10 bajillion copies, but how to outsource your scammy supplement website to poor people in India would probably not. Actually, I probably would nowadays. But that is what this book is about. And I know that because my dad bought it for me because he wanted me to have a better life than working a job. You know how they say we're living in a scam economy now? That's probably why. People can't imagine doing their job that they do for 40 hours a week for the rest of their lives.
Come home, I'm just so tired. And I don't want to do that anymore, right? Like, I don't care how poor and miserable I would have to be.
So I'll quit. I'll just automate brain rot for iPad kids to make those YouTube AdSense bucks. I'll automate ChatGPT scam ads. I'll YOLO on meme stocks. I'll escape the matrix.
Loyalty, hard work, and overachieving is the biggest scam there is.
You're working a 9-to-5 job and you want to escape, I'm going to give you a full plan to get out of your job right now in this video.
I was so mad when I realized I could have been making 10K months from posting on people's social media, writing silly little captions, instead of working 40+ hours on spreadsheets that I barely understood. And
I'll bet my life savings on a Polymarket gamble. Hell, some of you are probably checking your sportsbook app right now. We all understand intuitively that wage labor is a bit of a scam, so instead of being scammed, why not become the scammer? Everyone's selling something based on the idea of escaping workism, escaping capitalism, escaping the matrix, the grind. But I'm the only motherfucker who's gonna tell you how to actually do that. Stick around for the second half, the solutions.
We're constantly being told to work as hard as we possibly can. That's what we're being drilled into us, right? This is my message to you, okay? If you are lucky enough to be doing a job you love, if you are lucky enough to be doing the job of your dreams, then sure, work as hard as you possibly can, okay? But if you're not, work as little as you can f***ing get away with.
So what can you do about it other than quitting your shitty job and becoming a moderator on the anti-work subreddit? Well, I'm gonna split this into two parts. What you can do and what we can do. I fear the first half is going to be a little bit girl boss, neoliberal, self-care, ooh, and then the second part is gonna be a little bit, but alas, what are you gonna do? Step one, I think, is not something that you can do, more something as you can change in your brain. You can surgically extract from your brain the idea that work is tied to your identity and sense of self-worth. If this means you need to be insufferable when people are like, what do you do? And you're like, oh, I do a lot of things. I interpretive dance, I cook for my family, I have great taste in YouTube video essays, then do it. Go for it. This is something I'm working on, so if it works, let me know. I do it too. I struggle with this. I judge people by their jobs, and then I judge myself for having like kind of a fake influencer job, and I'm working hard, ironically, not to do that anymore. Every day I have to remind myself that my worth is not in my work and I'm just another idiot selling my time for money. It's fine. It's fine. Workism has made it so that our jobs are a huge part, if not the main part, of who we think we are. And if you don't believe me, look at somebody who just got a promotion with a fancier title and more responsibilities but no raise. A lot of them are going to be pretty stoked. They're going to write about it on LinkedIn. The more you identify the core of your being with the things that you do every day, the more power and leverage that jobs and, capitalism have over you. You also need to know that you are allowed to want to work less. I know, it sounds disgusting. Wanting to work less, want to work fewer hours? That actually means you're not hardworking, which means you're a bad person. Get back to work. Now, this problem, is especially bad for the men. Hello to the men.
All my fellas.
I see you, I hear you. I know that our society has especially told you that your worth is tied to how much you make and how fancy your job title sounds. I know, I've seen Fight Club, The Man's Session. When unemployment rates go up, it's men who disproportionately die various deaths of despair. Because you're told you have no value if you don't have an important job. And not to be an insufferable fucking feminist about this, but this is why patriarchy's bad for men too. Yeah, bro, you're the provider. You're the alpha. You have to go monk mode and make shitloads of money at a fancy sounding job. I'm gonna tell you, as a woman, if you want to quit your shitty job or get a job that's more chill and less stressful and just stop scraping your way up some non-existent corporate ladder, just do that, man. I promise. Women don't care about high-value men. Most of us are normal. Don't listen to what Jordan Peterson says, except for about cleaning your rooms. Please clean your rooms. The rest of it, I swear, most women are chill. As long as you're passionate about something, even if it makes you no money, you'll find some freaky lady who's also into that. Source, one of my hottest friends is really into Magic the Gathering. Okay? Okay. And if your job is preventing you from having any hobbies or interests outside of your job, maybe consider quiet quitting. Maybe consider quitting. I can't tell you what to do. So another piece of advice I have is maybe work less. Plenty of people do live off of part-time or live off of chill jobs or live off of, bullshit email jobs. Obviously, this is coming from a person who is single and does not have a family to support. So I don't know your life. Only take this if this is useful. But it's an option. Oh God, hopefully this doesn't sound super out of touch because everybody's just barely scraping by. Anyway. In The Refusal of Work, David Frayne follows a bunch of people who have refused work, either by trying to get by, working as little as possible, and just being thrifty, scraping on by. Some of them even united under the Idlers Alliance, pledging to strive not to work ridiculous hours, especially not for some corporate wankster, to eat slowly, to drink real ales frequently, to step off the 9-to-5 merry-go-round before I get queasy, to always remember that friends are a source of strength, to spend less with big businesses and corporations, to make lots of nice things instead, and to make a difference to the world and people around you, however small. And if this appeals to you, you can take this pledge. That felt nice to read aloud. I think I do pledge that. Anyway, but does being an idler really work? Maybe, if you're privileged or lucky. A lot of the idlers identify as downshifters, or people who intentionally work less or quit super stressful jobs for chill or lower paying jobs. But it does seem from the book that refusing work is kind of a lot of work. Though there is one thing that I think that anybody watching this can do, which is engaging in a more reciprocal community-based economy. which sounds like hippie shit. But you're probably thinking about like bartering. I'll clean for your house. I'll make you an almond chai latte if you do my tarot reading. I live in Victoria. That one's not a joke. I'm sure that's been done before. Open offer, ladies. Whatever. But in practice, it's a little different. David Graeber, my beloved, also wrote about the myth of barter. Economists say that money arose from barter. The story goes something like this. Grog say, I trade you 1 spear for 1 goat. And then Grog say, but Grog no need spear? Grog need basket. Uh-oh, how Grog and Grog trade? Looks like we invent currency about it. But that's bullshit. That's not really what happened. Currency grew out of more of a favor economy or a gift economy, like, oh, I caught more fish than my family could eat. Here's some fish. And then, oh, my berry bush has more berries than we can eat. Here, have some. And then, wow, look at that. Then eventually, as people continue to, help each other out and owe each other one, people decide to start keeping accounts of who owes exactly who what, and then bam, you get currency. This is what Robin Wall Kimmerer talks about as an economy of gifts and abundance in her book, The Serviceberry, which I am not holding up right now because I gave it away, and I heard it's on its 5th owner. But I prefer to call it the I'll get the next one economy. I helped you move, and like you're paying me in pizza, but not really. What I'm really getting from helping you move is a feeling of gratitude and bonding, because now I know that this friend will probably help me out when I need it, not because they owe me, but because they like me and we're like in a community together or whatever. We feel gratitude and bonding and happy fuzzies from doing shit for people because it kept our ancestors alive. You help your neighbor out when they're hungry, they help you out when you're hungry, and now you're both so well fed you can have 1 million babies and pass those pro-social genes right along. And so this kind of work actually makes us feel good and not run down and resentful.
You never say thank you!
That's what the money is for!
Work culture has kept us too exhausted and atomized to even have community like this, but it's there if you look for it. And if it's not, maybe you start it. My co-working space allows you to, instead of paying, just volunteer once a week and maintain the space, and you can be there for free, and it's honestly fucking sick, and shout out. I offered my editing skills to the communities I'm in just to see if anybody would take me up on it, and you know what? It feels way better to edit as a favor to somebody than to do it for myself. I didn't take any B-roll of myself editing because it's literally just editing, so you're just gonna have to believe me on this one. Also, here's me bringing my friends together so that instead of meal prepping alone in isolation, we all meal prep for each other, and then we feel better because we're doing each other a favor.
Your tits or abs shaking everywhere.
Oh, good. We ate our admittedly very healthy meal prep with bonding and gratitude instead of eating very healthy tofu and broccoli, sad and alone because you're on a diet or whatever. And my final word of advice is, if possible, work for yourself. Look, at least this way the fruits of your labor will belong to you and you won't have some fuck-ass manager taking half the value that you create from work just to tell you to get back to work. Also known as, and don't get scared you guys, also known as owning the means of production. That's what that is. And if you expand your idea about what you can do for money outside the bounds of like a career, there's plenty you could do to make enough money to live a decent life. I saw a video from Healthy Gamer, shout out. Most people are trapped in the idea of having a career. They don't see all the cool stuff they could do. His example was professional D&D DMs who ran campaigns for rich people in New York. Like, they probably didn't know that being a professional DM was an option, but they just loved it so much that they followed it where it went, and where it went was a bunch of money from rich people who like D&D. I didn't think I'd be able to make any money making videos. I just threw myself into it and hoped for the best, and eventually I did so well that I got fired from my job because I was doing a bad job because I was making videos all the time. Sorry. I even know people who've taken that self-employment and turned it into money for not just themselves but their friends, making a workers' co-op, where everybody gets the same pay and they can vote, they have some say in how the company works, and then they get to feel the bonding and the gratitude and they get to make a buck. What a concept. Now we're getting a bit into the what we can do section.
No one cares about your job. Your company doesn't even care about your job. That's why they'll lay you off in an instant, then merge it with some other job.
Let's talk about workers' co-ops, which are normal businesses except for they're cooperatively owned and managed by the workers. I think the biggest example of this in real life is Mondelez. It's in Spain. Mondelez. So it's a real thing that can happen. But instead of a top-down, boss-on-boss-on-boss-on-boss hierarchy, decisions are made collectively, workers vote, There's not authoritarian workplace. They are at least slightly more free. And there's many benefits to such a workplace, including, I'm just going to quote on Learning Economics here.
Less inequality within firms. Workers are less likely to leave voluntarily. Workers are less likely to leave involuntarily. Workers put in more effort. Workers report increased trust levels, lower rates of business failure or higher rates of survival. Similar levels of productivity to capitalist firms. Similar levels of investment to capitalist firms.
Yeah, all that. Go watch that video if you're very intrigued by the idea of workplace democracy or you haven't heard about it. But not yet. Remember that example about pin makers earlier? If this pin factory was a workers' co-op instead of a top-down corporation, they could theoretically take that pin-making invention and say, hey, this allows us to make double the pins. What do? Let's vote on it. Everybody would probably vote, hey, let's cut our hours in half and keep the profits more or less the same. Whoa! Workplace democracy like this can definitely lead to a world of working less, but only if we start to kind of reject work culture. I think what we can do is, more than just having like a workers' co-op, we can kind of demand a world not centered around jobs. Every single political party, at least here in the US and Canada, have made it their stated goal, at least they say, they want full employment. Anybody who can be employed should be employed. Jobs, 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 that's what we're gonna do. But for over a century, nobody has mentioned the idea of maybe we should figure out a way for everybody to work less. So that means we need to start making them. We used to talk about the end of work. We used to talk about, hey, it would be great if we didn't have to work as much. John Maynard Keynes, who you might know is the inspiration for the New Deal and the post-war consensus, that guy foresaw 15-hour work weeks by about now. And Bertrand Russell said we should be working no more than 4 hours a day. Is anybody saying that now? Just the tech oligarchs who want a permanent underclass. Just them. And if you want to see what the end goal of no mandatory work would look like, please God, watch my Star Trek video that I worked on for months and flopped terribly. Thank you. So how do we get to that kind of a place? Well, anti-work philosophers, thinkers, blah, they propose that labor, doing all the things that need to get done, can be done in a way that isn't soul-crushing, I know, by bringing back the idea of play. And not in a my job on the commune is a tarot card reader and you can be an ecstatic dance teacher kind of a way. Oh, why tarot cards are catching so many strays in this video. I like having my tarot cards read. I'm sorry. Real work needs to get done. We gotta scrub the floors. We gotta drive the trucks. We gotta balance the budgets. But could it be fun? Well, just ask people who play Power Washer Simulator or Euro Truck Simulator or any of the spreadsheet games that your nerdiest friend enjoys. It's me, I'm the nerdiest friend. And by the amount of you people that are always like, oh my god, is that FTL music? You too, probably. I know what you are. While I was working on this script, I took a break and clicked on a video about spreadsheet simulators, which tackle the perennial question, why do gamers enjoy games that are basically just Excel sheets with slightly more fun graphics? Why do I enjoy Civ 5 or Europa Universalis, but I don't enjoy, you know, maintaining WordPress sites? Brother, they're both just clicking buttons. Why would I play Euro Truck Simulator, but I have no interest in being a trucker? Well, the main difference is, again, the freedom. The bad part about being a long-haul trucker isn't driving an 18-wheeler, which I'm sure fucking rules. It's that you can never stop. You gotta, again, pee in bottles. You gotta get the shipments there on time. Another comment points out that these games have victory conditions. End results. When you're done, you're done. Speedrunning a game is fun, but speedrunning your office job and getting everything done by 11 because you have ADHD and that's the only way you know how to do things, and now suddenly you have the whole day just stretching out in front of you and you're like, well, should I tell my boss that I'm done and ask him pretty please for some more work and then he's gonna give me some busy work, or should I just pretend to be busy and listen to my podcasts? Is not fun. Ask me how I know. In video games, you get, like, the satisfaction of winning a game or losing a game, but, you know, there's, like, end points.
That's time. That's wrong.
Congratulations, man. Congratulations.
Oh, it's over. We did it.
And I feel like at a lot of jobs, the end of the day is just when you pack in your laptop. Or pack in your ladder, or whatever. If you're self-employed, you can often at least wrap up the day when you're done work. But if you work for somebody else, probably not. And you never get to close out and choose another game. It's just this game, over and over and over again, until you're ready to brave the horrendous job market and get interviewed by a bunch of chatbots. So, the difference between work and play? It's kind of what I said at the top. First off, your survival doesn't depend on it. That means you're not being coerced into working, and nobody can treat you like shit while you're doing the job unless you're playing Dota. Mark Twain says work consists of whatever a body is obliged to do, and play consists of whatever a body is not obliged to do. Societally, the only way we fix this is, I don't know, either UBI or Universal Basic Services. Let me know if you're interested in that video. Or like really good workplace protections so you can't just get fired all willy-nilly. Or workplace democracy or unions, which can help people at least not get fired from their jobs just for talking back or not 2xing their productivity. Play has an end state that you and your friends can enjoy. And there's stakes and there's feedbacks. If you do a good job, you win. If you make a good meal for your friends, they say, yum yum, delicious, and that's intrinsic value. And I'm just gonna put respect at work here. Also, people have to respect you. That would be play. Notice how it's fun isn't on here. Sure, play should be fun sometimes, but as anybody who's ever played Dark Souls or softball knows, a lot of play is not actually all that fun. There's fun moments, and there's no way a job could always be fun, just like there's no way a video game can always be fun. I would say that this sort of resembles how humans used to live before work as we know it, aka the Industrial Revolution. Farmers would have different jobs with the seasons, they'd see the fruits of their labor, when they were done, they were done. Except for they did need to farm to survive. Same with hunter-gatherers. Did they have it better? I don't know. I'm not gonna be one of those return people, but it seems at least closer to our base nature, like what we want to do. Swade, the spreadsheet games guy, contends that people don't actually hate spreadsheets, and honestly, yeah, the job-doing parts of my job were always the best part. It was just everything else that I was bad at. The culture, the emails I forgot to reply to, the forms I forgot to fill out, the sales targets I needed to hit, the customers I had to upsell. But like actually fixing a windshield or making a website, that's fun. People want to be productive, we want to help, we want to learn and master skills. We just don't want to deal with all this shit. You know what I mean? So what needs to change, I think, is first of all our attitude towards jobs. I think changing our attitude towards work and also having a government that actually kind of takes care of people, or a community that just takes care of people. Parallel systems. That can make this stupid hard work culture less painful, more bearable, even more fun. So ask yourself, are there reciprocal relationships in my life that I could like take advantage of? Could I create some? How could we make sure that the things that need doing get done without everything feeling like busy work? Maybe we shorten the work week. Maybe we give employees more of a stake in their company. And maybe stop treating them like children and start treating them like free adults. Could you make your job like this? Could you find a job that's more like this? Could you find ways to satisfy your wants and needs that are outside of the work 8 hours and get a paycheck and then spend it? Matrix? If yes, cool.